subscribe button to subscribe to our channel. Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Welcome to Kautilya. We'll discuss about the recent APPSC change in syllabus of Group 1 syllabus. Mainly this Indian economy and AP economy constitute 30 marks in your prelims paper. We'll discuss each and every topic of the given syllabus in detail. Going to the syllabus, in the first chapter, they have discussed about the basic characteristics of the Indian economy. They said Indian economy as a developing economy. In that, they have said economic development since independence, objectives and achievements of planning and Niti Aayog. Means what they are interested here means why there is a need for planning initially at the time of independence. Why we went for planning. They are asking about why there is a need for planning initially at the time of independence, and how the development happened in the planning period. Means 1950 to 2014 or 15 you can say, until this Niti Aayog is formed, how the development was there, how much growth India achieved during this plan period. This period from 1950 to this is a plan period approach. Here the role of planning commission played the main role, and in 2015 Niti Aayog was established, replacing the planning commission. What's the main difference between planning commission as well as Niti Aayog? Why it was established and what is the progress till now? And what are the main differences between the planning commission and Niti Aayog? Were there any differences or were there are any similarities? And why we removed the planning commission? What were the drawbacks of planning commission? Those are the things which we need to study in this. And apart from this, in the plan period, especially from 1950 to 2014 or 15, up to 1950 to 1990, that is purely socialist form of economy, where planning commission role was higher. But after 1991, economic reforms took place. Why? What was the changed role of planning commission during that time from 1991 to 2015? What's a major change happened? That we will be discussing. Apart from this, in this they said growth and distributive justice. Means mainly they are asking about, they are saying about whether the growth is equitable growth or not. Means whether the growth is removing the inequalities or not. That is one of the goals of the planning commission. That we'll be discussing. That will be discussed in detail. How the economic development is there, and what do you mean by economic development and economic growth. Those things will be discussed. And the other concept which they have said is Human Development Index. And in this we'll be discussing in detail who publishes Human Development Index and what is the rank of India and what is how India is changing its role from 1990 till now. What's any improvement is there in that, and how it is calculated, what are the different parameters in the Human Development Index. Those things we'll discuss. Apart from that, they have included few more topics like environmental degradation and challenges, as well as sustainability and environment policy. This mainly why they have included in this syllabus. So mainly because here they want to discuss about difference between development versus environment. Whether development is becoming problematic to the environment or not, or development should be stopped. Those things we need to discuss. Coming to this, we need to discuss about the sustainable development and sustainable development goals, 17 goals, and what are the recent government initiatives on this, like on the Paris climate change, what the government has intended, what the government declared its goals, what the targets which the government will be achieving, through solar how much, through renewable how much, those things we'll be discussing about this. The first chapter mainly concerns about these things. Coming to the second chapter, this chapter deals about the basics of economy, of any economy. So it said about the national income. So what are the different components of the national income? Like, what do you mean by GDP? GNP, NDP, NNP. What do you mean by economic growth? These concepts we will discuss. Apart from this, here we will be discussing about concept called base year. Base year. Apart from this, we will discuss about difference between market price and factor cost. Factor cost. These are the basics of national income and how a GDP will be calculated in any country, not only in India, in any country. That's why it is called national income and its components. And demographic issues. Clearly they have mentioned demographic issues. Demographic issues means what's the population, how the population growth is happening from right from independence up to till now. Any changes are happening there. What are the different stages of the population growth which is happening? Apart from this, they have said poverty and inequality and unemployment. They have given is different. Yes, one leads to the other. We can't say exactly which one comes to which one. One leads to the other. So these two topics will deal hand in hand. What do you mean by unemployment and what do you mean by poverty? How it is measured? What are the different kinds of poverty? Unemployment. What do you mean by what is unemployment? What are the different kinds of unemployment? And what are the strategies to remove poverty or eliminate unemployment in India? That's what they have said as various schemes of employment and poverty eradication. Apart from this, they have said occupational structure means in this they want to say about in the demo there is a chapter called demographic issues. There will be dealing with how the population is changing. In this extension of this, how the people are getting employed means how the people are getting employed, in which sector people are mostly working, whether it is primary sector or secondary sector or tertiary sector. Why more amount of people are there in which sector, in particularly in which sector there are large number of people are there. Those things we'll discuss. And different kinds of unemployment, why people are restricted to one kinds of sectors. And in India, what are the changes which are happening right from independence till now? Those things we'll be discussing. And apart from this, in this same chapter, they have included the concept called rural development and urban development. So, rural areas problems will be different. Problems in rural areas will be different, and urban areas problems will be different. How it will be dealt? What are the different schemes? What are the different policies of the government? We'll discuss in detail in this chapter. Coming to the next chapter. It deals, they are given the heading as Indian agriculture, but I'll divide this unit into multiple chapters. First chapter up to food security, it is purely Indian agriculture. Then from Indian industry to policies. It deals with industrial sector of India. And last topic would be economic reforms at the time of during 1991. So three chapters. I will divide this unit into 3 chapters. In the first part of this unit, we will discuss about the agriculture. Agriculture. Mainly here, we will discuss about what are the basic things needed for agriculture, like water, whether water is available, what kind of different irrigation facilities available in India, those things we need to do, and what are the different agriculture inputs which are required for the farmer, those things that is nothing but inputs of agriculture. And are there any strategies or policies which the government has formed for the agriculture development in India? Like in the case of India, it is we have developed Green Revolution in 1970s, 60s and 70s. Apart from this, we have different Golden Revolution, Milk Revolution, those things will deal with this. And later on, there are a large number of farmer suicides which are happened in India and which are also happening now also. What are the different reasons why agrarian crisis is happening, why the farmer suicides are happening? What are the different factors which are leading to the agrarian crisis? Those things we'll discuss. And at the time of independence, there is a huge cry on land reforms. Why land reforms are required? Need for land reforms at the time of independence. At which places it happened perfectly, and why it did not happen in other places, other states. Only in few states it performed well. Whereas in other states it did not go as intended. What was the main reason? And apart from this, there is a concept called minimum support price for the agriculture products. What do you mean by that? Why is it required? And related to this concept, a small concept is there, that is food security and malnutrition. In this, why there is a malnutrition in India? According to this recent reports by Human Development Index or Hangama report, there is a huge amount of malnutrition in India, and how it can be minimized. And what do you mean by food security? National Food Security Act. What are the different entitlements in that through people for the people? Those things will deal with it. Next chapter in this unit would be industrial development in India. In this, mainly industrial policy. Mainly for this, industrial policy resolution of 1956 is very important. Later on, there are so many resolutions, but industrial policy resolution from 1956 is very important. In this policy itself, why we adopted socialistic kind of development in India is also said. And recent Make in India program, in this Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India schemes are there, and we'll deal with that in detail, whether Make in India is successful or not. And SEZ, Special Economic Zones, what do you mean by Special Economic Zones and where it is established? And industrial corridors, like dedicated freight corridors, or Chennai-Bangalore industrial corridor, Vizag-Chennai industrial corridor. Why there is a requirement? Why industrial corridors are must for the development? Those things we'll discuss. Related concept would be in this is energy and power policies. What are the different policies of the Energy Act? Means Electricity Act or renewable resources. Those things we'll discuss. This comes under second part of this same unit. And last chapter of the same unit would be economic reforms. Economic reforms, why we went for economic reforms, need for economic reforms, need for LPG reforms in 1991. What were the factors which led to that? And after that, how our trade improved, how our trade improved, and what do you mean by balance of payment, and what is the role of WTO, why WTO is required, and what are the issues related to WTO and India, any recent issues between India and US or India and WTO, why we are approaching WTO recent times more. Those things we'll be discussing in this chapter. So in the third unit is very important, where there are high chances to ask large number of questions from this. Mainly it is the chapter heading is Indian agriculture, but it is mix of all those. Indian agriculture is there, industrial development is there, as well as economic reforms are there. Very important chapter from the examination point of view. Coming to the next chapter, financial institutions. Here, financial institution, directly the syllabus is made as clumsy, but simply to speak, it is government budgeting, that is nothing but fiscal policy and monetary policy by the RBI, and how inflation can be controlled using these two, and in the fiscal policy itself there is a concept called taxes. From that, taxation is there, we can proceed to taxation, what are the different types of taxes, and the recent changes like introduction of GST, how it affected the taxation system in India, those things. So if you go by the given syllabus, RBI and monetary policy, that's what we have said, and banking and financial sector reforms. In this, after the completion of monetary policy, we deals with what are the different types of banks, why, when India allowed private banks, and when India allowed nationalization of banks, why India took that step, those things, and recent banking crisis like NPA's issue, that is Vijay Mallya case, all the recent happenings, NPA case we'll discuss. And apart from this, they have included a concept called financial market instabilities, like 2008 financial crisis or the present financial crisis which is happening, why it is happening, and in the financial markets when we need to deal with SEBI also. And Indian taxation system, that I have said in the fiscal policy itself, and recent changes, that is introduction of GST, how it is affecting the industrial front. And apart from this is one part. Now coming to the second part of the same unit, how the center-state relations, financial relations are there, where in constitution where they have they specified anything related to the center-state financial relations. What do you mean by planning commission or finance commission? How what are the measures which it say? What are the things which it says for the devolution of revenue? How the resources will be shared? How those things we'll discuss about in the financial relations, sharing of resources and devolution. Next, public debt and public expenditure, that is fiscal policy. In this, one important concept which I forgot is FRBM, Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act. Very important from the examination point of view, and recently PG Nayak committee was also appointed for this purpose, and they have given the recommendations. What are those? Those things we'll discuss. This coming after second unit. In the second unit, mostly you will be dealing about the national income and different components. In the fourth unit, we'll be discussing about how government is influencing the economy and RBI is taking the steps. And apart from that RBI and government, there is a financial institution like SEBI or stock exchange, how it is affecting, and whether any financial crises are happening or not, and relation between the center and states when dealing with finance, when dealing with taxation system. Those things we'll discuss. So second and fourth unit is one at a go, and third unit talks about the other thing, that is agriculture, industries and economic reforms. You need to identify the intricacies in the syllabus. Next unit, here the fifth unit deals about the Andhra Pradesh economy, totally about the Andhra Pradesh economy. till now, for first 4 units dealt with Indian economy, 5th unit specifically for the AP economy. Since we are preparing for the Group 1 of AP, AP economics is very important. In this, mainly implications which are arising after state bifurcation, that is 2014. What are the implications? Means impact of bifurcation on the national resources and state revenue. So in the 4th chapter we will be dealing about how the government budgets, gives the budget. In that we will deal about the revenue part. Similarly, state government also publishes their budget. So in this we will deal about concept called revenue deficit. Why AP is having revenue deficit? How can it minimize? Those things we will discuss. And apart from this, at the time of bifurcation, there is this revenue deficit is one issue and water disputes is the other. So what are the different issues coming out of water between Telangana and AP? How much amount of TMC should be shared on Krishna river as well as in Godavari river, and their impact on the respective irrigation facilities, and due to bifurcation, what's the impact on the industrial development in the AP state? What's the impact? Those things we'll discuss. And apart from the industry, we'll discuss entirely with the infrastructure issues like power and transportation and industrial and social sector, urbanization, what's the impact? All those things we'll discuss on one subheading called infrastructure. Infrastructure, we'll discuss about what is the power related issues, roads or other developmental issue, what are the different infrastructure related, transportation, those things we'll discuss. Apart from this, agriculture, on the agriculture front, how it is going to affect. And recent schemes like smart cities, where are the different smart cities allocated to AP, and what are the problems of urbanization, those things. And skill development, very important, those things, skill development and employment and social welfare programs. In the first chapter we have dealt with, in the first chapter of Indian economy, we have dealt with poverty and unemployment. In the 5th chapter we will deal about the skill development and employment issue and social welfare programs. So all the chapters, first chapter and 5th chapter is related, and 4th chapter and 5th chapter is also related in terms of revenue deficit, government budgeting. So first 4 chapters gives the basics, and remaining 5th chapter gives the basics of AP economy. Next chapter of the same deals with AP Reorganization Act of 2014. Mainly here, as I said in the first part of this, why revenue deficit is there, how government can reduce this revenue deficit, and what are the central promises on central promises. And here we will be dealing with special category status, and what do you mean by special assistance, what's the difference between these two, and different kinds of infrastructure development like Vizag railway zone, Kadapa steel factory, Durgarajapatnam airport, and expressways and industrial corridors. These are the different infrastructure developments which are happening in India, and which center has promised in the Bifurcation Act to the AP government, AP state. Those things we'll discuss, and what are the issues arising out of those things, and if this infrastructure development happens, how it will affect the industrial development and agriculture development or trade in the AP, residual AP state, how it will give benefit to the state of AP. We'll discuss that, and what the recent government stands and the measures which the government has taken on this implementation. So first 4 chapters gives the basics of economics of Indian economy, and 5th chapter dealt only with AP related issues related with AP. And first 4 chapters gives the basics how to know about the different dimensions of AP economics also, like poverty, unemployment, special category status, those things. Thank you. These are the topics which we will be dealing in this prelims topic of Group 1. I hope I have cleared almost all the issues related with prelims Group 1 economy part. And this economy marks totally, it comes to around 30 marks in the prelims, India and AP. And most of the questions will be from AP 5th chapter. Most of the questions in the 30 marks means 30 questions. In the 30 questions, you will be getting almost around 10 questions, more than 10 questions from the 5th chapter, 5th unit itself.